Hi there. Welcome back to the Jellyfish Journals. I am very excited because not only am I doing, let me say that again. Not only am I not doing a voiceover right now, I am actually filming this live with my voice. I am actually about to show you my finished 2025 reading journal setup. This does not include any of the monthly setups, of course. This is just everything that I'm planning to pop back to as I read throughout the year and keep updated so that at the end of the year, I'll have the reading challenges and all of those types of things done. And yeah, I'm really excited to share this with you. I wasn't planning to film today, but my 13-year-old daughter is very into press-on nails, and she's been begging me to do my nails. You see, I'm shaky. I told you guys I get nervous doing this. But she, oh my goodness. So she really wanted to do them. I prefer my nails much shorter. I like my nails to just be barely past the tip of my fingers, if even that. And so these are driving me crazy, but they are kind of pretty. And I was like, you know what? I'll never have this again. So I'll film my big reveal with the nails on. So but after this, they are coming off. I have a lot of ironing to do after this. And so I'm kind of hoping that they just pop off while I'm ironing and then I can be done with them. But if any of them pop off during this video, more power to them. I'll be ahead of the game, I guess. So anyway, if you've been watching my videos, then you know I started out with my plan for 2025 in this reading journal. I had all of the black outlines done on all of the pages, and I kind of gave an explanation of what each page is about. I'm not really planning to do that as much this time. I might explain a little bit here and there for any newcomers, but if you're curious, I did explain things a bit in my plan video. So the very first video I posted that won't have any decorations or anything in it. But this time I'm going to walk through now that all of those pages are finished, and I'm really excited. Let's jump in and get started. So this is an Archer in Olive. I don't know why I can never remember this. I'm pretty sure it's a B5 size. But it's got the little mermaid on the front. You can see her tail a little bit there. She's kind of pearlescent, shimmery. My very first Archer and Olive book, and I've been incredibly happy with it so far. Just very impressed with the quality. So in any case, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to tuck that behind there. And without, what do they say? Any further ado? I think that's right. Let's take a look. So this is the inside of the front cover, the beautiful pearlescent scales on the left here, and then this is just my name page. If you've been watching, you'll know that this box sticker, I've tried it everywhere. I wanted it somewhere where it could kind of dominate the page, and so that's what I decided to put here. Use this wooden paper to cover the Archer and Olive logo. Definitely no shade to Archer and Olive. I just didn't need to be reminded every time that that's who made my journal. Then if you turn the page, some of this is going to be new, not much, but there are a few things in here I did not do in any of the videos. I kind of puttered a little bit after. It's kind of interesting. I guess this is that page everybody talks about. That's a little wonky, but what I did, I wasn't planning to do anything on this page. So I did decorate this side in a previous video, and then I went back in another video and added the wood at the top. But I wasn't planning to do anything here, but I knew I wanted to have some sort of system where I wrote down anybody that I have loaned a book to. I don't typically loan out books much, not because I don't want to or I'm not willing to, but I just don't read the same things a lot of other people I know do. So it isn't often when, I pass along a book. For example, I would say I probably only have one person I know who reads about the same things that I do. And a lot of the things that I've read, she's already read, or vice versa. If she reads a book and she's thinking, wow, this is amazing, you should read it, Susie, I've either already read it or I've already purchased it in anticipation of reading it. My co-teacher, well, she's in the classroom next door to me. She mostly likes to read fantasies and romances, which aren't really my jam. And then I also have a few friends that read, but they are very clear that they are not very quick readers. And so they might borrow a book a year, but not super many. So I knew I wanted some sort of system. I am fully fine if I never end up using this, but I just thought it would be really cute. So I just cut a piece of textured paper. I don't know, you probably can't, maybe you can see the texture a little bit. But I just cut the textured paper. I Googled an image of a library card and then went ahead and just made some lines on there to write it down. And then what I did on the back is I wrote down all of the different Tombow colors that I use throughout this journal. And I think, there's a Stabilo. Those are the little chunky ones with the black lids, and then an S note. But the other ones are all Tombows. And so, as promised, these are the colors I use throughout. The Stabilo number is actually the last three numbers of the SKU or the scan code on the back of the marker. There's no other identifier, so I just call it number 294. And then the S note, my daughters went through, as I've mentioned, and decided all my markers needed names, and they named this one Mint. And so on my marker, I took a Sharpie and I wrote Mint, so I'm able to find it, and I use that for my other swatch charts. And I just took this burlap paper and made a little pocket. Did that just by cutting a size that was a little bit wider than this and a little bit taller than this, and folded those sides under, folded this side under, and then just used like an adhesive roller to glue that down to the page. And so it just gave me a little place to tuck this in so that as I add things to my stats pages and so on, I have my swatch chart hidden in handy. I'd intended originally to tuck it. I didn't even know this when I bought it, but I don't know if all Archer and Olive journals have this, but there's this really cool pocket in the back, and that's where I'd intended to put a swatch chart. But when it came down to it, I was thinking that's going to be a lot of flipping back there, and I didn't want that chart to be, or that pocket in the back to be damaged over time. So I thought this would be easy enough to do. It's probably not as likely to get damaged, and if by any reason it does, it's super easy to just make another one and stick it on there. So here is my 2025 reading journal, I guess, title page. And then flipping the page, this is a quote by Lisa C. Read 1,000 books and your words will flow like a river. I love her books. In truth, I've read 2 of them. But after I read the first one that I read, which was actually the Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. I believe it was a free Amazon Prime read ages ago, and I was just instantly hooked. And so when a friend recommended Island of the Sea Women to me, I read that one, loved it every bit as much. Any other Lisa C fans I've read have said that every single book holds up. And so I do own a lot of her books on my shelf that I've picked up at thrift stores. But I have only managed to get through those 2 so far. That's what happens when book buying is a hobby or book acquiring. But I do love her books, and love that there's a very applicable quote, not only as a reader, but also as a teacher. So moving on. So this is another one that I've updated a little bit. I had not intended to put any decoration on this page. My plan had been to, as these books were read, to just use one of these Tombow colors. I keep saying Tombow, but one of these colors to color in the books. And so my thinking was that at the very end of 2025, once I've read all of these books, the colors themselves would end up being the decoration. But I also know that waiting a whole year for this page to be pretty was going to drive me insane because everything else I worked so hard on. And so what I did was I just used that same wooden washi across the bottom and added some flowers in the back like they're sitting on the shelf with the books, and then just put a little bit of eucalyptus up there on the top. These are the books that I am definitely going to get through in 2025, whether they've been on my shelf forever or I just bought them. So you'll notice the next Hunger Games book is on here. That is probably my most anticipated release. I've already pre-ordered it. I cannot wait. But obviously I can't read it yet. It's not out yet. So it will be one of the 25 and 25. There are other books on here that have been things I have been very anxious to read, like anxious in a good way. Haven't gotten to them yet. So, but I know they're like always in the back of my head. Like, I'm really dying to read that. I'm dying to read that. And it may seem a little strange if I'm dying to read all these books. Why don't I just read them? But I don't want to acquire a lot of books, whether it's at thrift stores or little free libraries or whatever, and they end up never being read because there's always something new and fresh and something everybody's talking about that comes out. And so I try to balance it a little bit. So I try to make sure that if a book that I know sounded good to me when I found it at a little free library sounded really good and I knew I wanted to read it, I try not to let it get swept under the rug by newer titles. Also, in addition to that, there are new releases that I know I'm going to want to read that are going to take priority. The Maid's Secret is another one by Nita Prose. I've loved her books in her series. And yeah, I think ultimately I just know which books I really want to read, and I really, honestly, I want all the books on my shelf to be read. That's why they're there, but these are the ones that stand out to me that maybe I'm also just excited. I've heard really good things about. I tried to match the fonts of the books, so the Arabian Nights, Room is pretty... might be a well-known enough book that you recognize how the title's written there, but and here's Elisa C at the bottom. But I did leave a lot of them empty. My birthday was just a couple of days ago, and my husband bought a few books off my list that I really want to read, like The Bee's Sting is one of them, and The Quiet People is another one. And so I need to go through and add those also, but I also left some blank just in case I get them as Christmas gifts. But yeah, so I'll keep adding to this as I go. This is my reading log. Really excited to fill this up next year. I think I might have already hit my 120 books. I was anticipating I'd read about 120 this year. I think I've already hit that, and I'll dip a little into a higher number. So this goes up to 140. I've said it before, I teach third grade. In the summers, I have a lot of time. My kids are a little older. I mentioned in one video that I was recording in my daughter's bedroom because she's away at college. Well, this video I'm actually filming in my stepson's bedroom because he's also away at college. So I have a little bit of time on my hands, especially in the summer, to just really plow through a bunch of books. So it's not a goal I've set for myself. I've just made room in case I read them. Moving on, this is my reading challenge for next year. This is based off of Storygraph. It's an app I have on my phone, which is where I'll also get all of my stats from as I'm reading throughout the year. And all I did on this page, I don't know if I went back and showed this in a video or not, but I took all the prompts. So this one, for example, is a book with an image in January. I looked through all the books I already own on my shelf. So all of these are already on my shelf. I have not read them before. Well, technically I read Animal Farm in high school, but I want to reread it. And so I took and I printed all the covers in black and white and put them in there. That way I would not forget which books I've already set aside that fit one of these challenges. So I'm dying to read Murder Your Employer. I didn't want to accidentally read it right, as my next read, or read it in December and forget, oh no, I meant to save that for January because it fit that prompt. So these are kind of locked in, held in place. I know when I'll be reading these books. There's the other Lisa C book. This was an author with an S or R in the name because my initials are SR. And so I picked Lisa C, of course. But yeah, these are just some that I've gotten at thrift stores, or again, I've gotten little free libraries. This one I found at a yard sale. I know it's a pretty popular book. This prompt is a book I know nothing about. I had just been seeing it everywhere. I'd heard a lot of people say it was really good and I should read it. I don't know what it's about. The cover is stunning. And so when I saw a book I know nothing about, when I went to that yard sale, I guess I was humming and hawing about it. And the lady was like, just take it. So free book, hardcover. It's beautiful. And so that'll be my read for that. And then what I did, and I get to go in that cool little pocket in the back, was when I printed them in black and white, I also printed them in color. And so as I read the books, I will cut these out and glue the color cover over the top of it. And that way the book becomes colorful, the page becomes colorful throughout the year and as I've read those books. So I'll move these things out of the way so it's all clean. Moving on, this is my book bracket for next year. And I've just got my months of the year on the side here. January, February's book will go there. March, April's book goes there. Then I look at which of those two books I liked better, put it there. And it just kind of goes down until the book that I guess stood out to me the most during the year goes here. I did say in one of my videos, I probably should have called this an honorable mention. I have odd feelings about a book bracket. I love the way it looks when it's done, and it just is fun to do in general. But my 2024 winner is probably not going to be the one that stuck in my head the most. And so I wanted a place to kind of have room for one extra little book that maybe I read it in January, February, at the beginning of the year, but by the time I got to December, that one book is still in my head and it's still my favorite book to recommend. And so I didn't want it to get left behind at the beginning of the year, even if it makes it through the bracket a bit. I wanted a place to just kind of honor that book that sticks in your head. And I feel like most readers have that, You read so many books and then maybe a couple months later, you're like, gosh, I loved that book. And, you think about it. And I just wanted a place for that. So here I have my books read page. So I'll just, color the graph for however many books I read each month. I don't think I've read more than 15 books in any given month, but it goes up to 18. And I'm kind of loving how the way I did it, there's one little dot in each spot just from the dot grid page. That's funny. And I'll probably just use these colors to fill this in. I don't know which colors yet, but it will be these colors that I use, probably a different color for each month. Over here, these will be the pages I read each month. I don't think I've even read, I think I might have read 6,500 pages in a month. So far in 2024, I'm not positive though. Some months I read 3,000 pages, some months I read a little higher, but this will just be a dot, like one of those zigzaggy lines with a black pen. That's the plan. Then I've got the dates finished. This page, what I'll do is thinking about the format of each book I read. I read print, digital, and I listen to audiobooks. And what I'll do is I have all the dates for each month on here. And then as I finish a book in each month, I'll just color in that box the appropriate color. So if I finish a print book on the 5th of January, I'll just color that box pink. If I happen to also finish, let's say, an audiobook on the 5th of January, then I will do like a little slash mark and I'll just color half and half. And the idea is just to see what patterns there are and just to see what days I read. Over here, this will be for the years published. I'm hoping to read some older classics, so I'm hoping I get at least a couple in this year range, anything before 1899. But as I read books, I want to look at what year the book was published in, and then I'll just color something on this page, the color that indicates what year that book was published. So if I read a book that was published in 2010 through 2019, I'll pull out that color green, which might be a little hard to see. It's a little smaller. Let me see if I can pull this up a little bit. But I'll just pull up that color green next to 2010. And then I will pick something on this page and color it that color green. And it won't be like per petal or anything like that. I've counted this out. There are 140 objects on this page to correlate with the 140 spots I left for myself. Moving on, I have my book Shelfie. This is also, I've started to fill in, definitely not done yet. I probably won't finish this until I've gotten through December 2024, and I know which books to not write on here because I read them in 2024. The only books that have already made it on this book Shelfie are the books that I know I want to read in 2025, and also the books that are a part of my reading challenge. So that's all I have on here so far, and I just randomly write a book, I randomly write the title on a book. So there's Sunrise on the Reaping, and as I read the book, I will just color it, and again, I will color it one of these colors. So by the end of the year, the bookshelf will be these colors, which also coordinates with the theme of the book. On this page, we have genres read and where I've acquired my new books. These two charts look exactly the same. This one I counted by twos, only because I read a lot of thrillers and mysteries, and so I had a feeling that might run out of room if I counted by ones. But these are just genres I typically read. You'll see romance is not on there. That's not one of my genres that I enjoy. And then over here, new books. This is just where I've acquired new books throughout the year. And I just thought it might be fun to kind of see at the end of the year, where do I get most of my books from? This is the page for my 2025 in review. So each month I'll just record the number of books I read that month, the number of pages, how many were print, digital, or audio, how many new books I acquired, and how many books that maybe I did not finish. And then I left a notes column, not really sure what I want to do there. Maybe if I loaned a book to someone, or maybe if a book really stuck out at me, or I honestly am not quite sure what I might do there. Maybe it'll be one of those things where if somehow I acquire a bunch of new books, it'll be because a friend cleaned out their bookshelf or something like that. But I left a notes column just in case. And then at the very end, when all this is filled out, I'll record all of those totals over here. A to Z challenge, pretty self-explanatory. As I read a book with a title that starts with each letter, I'll just glue the cover of the book in the space beside it. For X, Q, maybe Z, if there is that letter somewhere in the title, I'll glue it down. That way, hopefully this will be all filled by the end of the year and it'll be prettier without the empty spaces. My Read the World spread I'm very excited about, and I've had a bunch of you already give me some really interesting recommendations for Siberia. I made a joke about how it would be fun to color this whole spot right here. And so a lot of you have been giving me recommendations for books about Siberia. So I'm definitely starting to look into those. I've had some of you give me recommendations for books that take place in Africa, because I don't think I've read any that take place in Africa either. And then a viewer did comment that I am missing New Zealand. My deepest apologies. I think just in the busyness of making this, I assumed, very incorrectly apparently, that New Zealand would have kind of been lumped in with this map here. I just didn't look that closely. I think this was actually my hardest map to find. Without having all the countries labeled. I didn't want the countries labeled. And so by the time I found this map, I just went with it. So I think I might end up having to take this up and shift it up a little and put New Zealand either above or below it. Then I've got my book bingo page, and this time I left space to write the title of each book underneath, which I did not do in my current book bingo. This here is my Read the Rainbow page, where I will put, for example, I could take like this book here is mostly yellow. Maybe I would glue that cover down on yellow because I read a book with a lot of yellow in the cover. Maybe Animal Farm would work for white. So that kind of idea, just whatever color the cover mostly is, I'll put it on there. I've got a page here for recommendations. I don't remember if I did this one in a video or not, but I wasn't sure what to do with this page for a long time, and I finally just decided I'm just going to make the chart go sideways. I don't see why not. I like that it makes it a little different. But if people recommend books to me, because even though I might not loan books to those friends I mentioned before, they do come across books that they think I might like, and so they recommend those books to me. So I'll write down the title, the author, who recommended it, and whether I bought, I should have said, or acquired that book, and then if I read the book or not. And this is my book awards page. So what I'll do here is at the very end of 2025, I'll go through all the books that I've read, and underneath each of these, I'll glue down a picture of the cover that goes along with whatever that book award is. Over here, I've got my thriller Tropes, kind of similar to the reading challenge page, the way I did that with these colors in the boxes. I'll glue the cover on the side once I read a book that fits that trope. And I just found 20 thriller tropes just by searching on Google. Then I've got a page for classics. I honestly still have no idea what I want this to even look like once I start reading some classics. It may just be that I glue covers down on top of it. I don't know, to be honest. I've had visions of it being a list. I've had visions of it being the covers, and I think I will just play with it when I read my first classic. And kind of the same thing for Did Not Finish. I don't know if I want to waste ink printing out a cover of a book I didn't like enough to finish, but I may end up just doing that because I'm super visual, and it's very likely that if I do glue the covers down here, I will remember forever that I read that book and did not finish. And then finally, my new books that I'm hoping to acquire, that comes out really weird, that I may end up acquiring in 2025. It was already pointed out to me by my daughter that I have probably acquired more than 68 books in 2024. But that's all I left space for. I was hoping to not go too crazy next year, so I double spaced all of these alternating lines, the pinks and whites. And I have noticed my book acquiring has slowed down a little bit, mostly just because I don't like a lot of excess. And so I'm constantly purging my bookshelf of things that don't sound as interesting as they did when I got them. Typically, those are either books that were given to me or I got at the Little Free Library, and then I just go put it back in the Little Free Library. But overall, I'm just hoping not to overdo it next year. But that is about it for my journal. And then after this, I'll give you a little sneak peek. It's probably really hard to see now that I think about it because it's in pencil, but I have started planning, and it says Chapter 1, January, and I'm going to start doing the black outline for January. I have a really cool theme idea for this that I'm excited about and excited to start decorating, and so you'll see some video of that coming up soon, but anyways, I've had a lot of fun making this reading journal. I've had some of you tell me that some of these ideas have inspired you. That means a lot to me. I know I've been inspired by quite a few people. You'll see their links, whether it was a blog, a YouTube, or a Instagrammer. I try to give credit wherever I'm inspired by. And I'm super excited to jump into this and add this as part of my reading habit next year. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a message in the comments. Bye.